Hi, my name is David Warner Matheson, and I'd like to thank you for your interest in my work and for the positive response I've been getting for my latest book, Myth and Trauma, which was just released but which is encountering some unexpected logistical challenges in terms of matching supply with demand. Some of this has to do with challenged logistics chains in the actual production of the book, which I did not anticipate, and which has to do with the current situation going on right now. So I just wanted to say thank you for your patience, and your copy or copies will be on their way to you as soon as possible. And for those who have ordered signed copies from me through my website, typically I'm able to put those in the mail to you on the same day or the next day at the latest. But right now, I'm looking at a possible delay of up to a week. So I do apologize for that, but please be certain that I will send you your inscribed copy just as soon as I can via priority mail, and you will receive an email confirmation when it ships, along with a confirmation number so you can track it. So while you're waiting, I thought I would offer a few thoughts for you to turn over in your mind until your copy of the book arrives. In Myth and Trauma, we'll explore evidence regarding the path to reconnection with the essential self, which may be a concept that you're already very familiar with, or maybe a phrase that makes you uncomfortable because you're not really even sure you believe in something called the essential self, or that can be described as the authentic self or the higher self. In fact, as we'll see in this book, the ancient myths actually tell us that many men and women are completely unaware of the existence of an essential or authentic self, and in fact are actually hostile to the very possibility. The idea makes us defensive in a lot of cases. Um, and we want to ridicule the idea or make light of it or otherwise marginalize the very possibility that we might have a suppressed essential self. Modern psychologists and experts in trauma actually discuss this very same phenomenon and explain the reasons behind that resistance or hostility to the idea that we might have an essence which we've buried and suppressed and which we want to forget about. In Myth and Trauma, we'll see how the ancient myths are talking about this concept and how they use the infinite realm of the stars to show us truths about reconnecting with our essential self. And through that reconnection with our own essence, reconnecting to the infinite realm, which is described in different myths in different ways, often as the realm of the gods. Now, one aspect of my work is exploring the overwhelming evidence which shows that the characters and episodes in the Bible are built on the very same system of celestial metaphor which underlies the myths and scriptures and sacred stories of virtually every other culture on earth, from every inhabited continent and island on our globe. And we'll see plenty of evidence to support that conclusion in Myth and Trauma. However, just because the evidence shows beyond doubt that these stories are metaphorical in nature, reflecting the stars and constellations of the heavens, that does not mean that I'm saying that they're not conveying profound truths for our lives. They absolutely are conveying profound truths, profound and very positive truths intended to help us overcome trauma and the separation from ourself and to reconnect with our essence. And through that reconnection, to reconnect with nature and with other men and women, and in fact with the infinite realm, which also connects us with other men and women and with nature and the wider world that we inhabit. You'll never hear me say anything negative about the ancient myths and scriptures themselves, whether they're the myths and scriptures contained in the Bible or the myths and scriptures of other cultures. These ancient myths, as I show in the book, can be proven to have a positive original intent for empowering and uplifting men and women and establishing justice and connecting with one another and with the infinite. You can absolutely do that through the path that's laid out in the biblical scriptures. For example, in the New Testament Gospels, which describe connecting with the Father through the person of Jesus, you won't hear me criticizing these stories or the path that these stories are pointing towards. Quite the opposite. If you read Myth and Trauma, you might gain some new perspectives on these stories and these scriptures and what they might be teaching, but you won't hear me putting down the stories or their teachings at all. And you'll see how many other ancient myths from cultures around the world use the very same celestial patterns, the very same sets of constellations, which form the foundation for the figures, for example, of Jesus and his heavenly Father in the Bible, to dramatize their powerful teachings about reconnecting with the higher self and with the infinite through that reconnection. And they're all using this same set of constellations. That is dramatic confirmation that the ancient myths from cultures very far apart from one another have inherited sacred traditions built on the same ancient esoteric system, a system which is so ancient that it's already fully developed by the time the earliest surviving texts from ancient Sumer were written down on their clay tablets, already fully developed by the time the very earliest Vedas of ancient India were composed, already fully developed by the time the earliest pyramid texts of Egypt were carved into the stone. Those ancient sacred texts from those different cultures were written down as many as 5,000 years ago in some cases. And the fact that they're already using this system indicates that the system itself must have been designed well before that, perhaps thousands of years earlier. And yet, its teachings are as necessary for our lives today, in this very present moment, in this very present situation, as they've ever been, perhaps even more necessary than ever. These teachings have been preserved in the ancient myths for thousands of years, in some cases, on their way to you and me. And so, although the current situation that's going on in the world is delaying the delivery of my books by a week or so, in light of all those thousands of years, it doesn't seem quite as big of a delay, although I do apologize for the delay, and I thank everyone for their patience. I truly hope that this book will be a blessing to you in your own journey, and that it will help you in your search for what you're looking for in your life.